Hello, my dear listeners. Welcome to the We Stories. Today I prepared three interesting stories for you. The first one is horror. The second one is intrigue. And the third one is detective. My English is not perfect yet, but I want to share interesting stories with you, bring your emotion and become better with you. So take your place, take your food, and let me tell you a new story. The first story, horror. The photos that changed every night. I thought someone was breaking into my apartment. That was the only explanation, at least at first. My name is Daniel. 3 months ago, I moved into an old apartment building. Cheap rent, quiet neighborhood, nothing special. The apartment came furnished. Old couch, old table, old photographs. Most of photographs were ordinary. Families, birthdays, vacations. But one photograph stood out. Eve showed a little girl. It showed a little girl. I'm sorry. Standing in the front of the building, smiling, holding a teddy bear. The frame was dusty, very old. For some reason, I kept it. The first strange thing happened on a Tuesday. I came home from work, dropped my case, looked at the shelf, and froze. The photograph had moved. Not much, just a little. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe I touched it. Maybe it slipped. Then I looked closer. The girl wasn't smiling anymore. I stared at the picture. For almost a minute. It was the same photo, the same frame, the same building, but her smile was gone. That night I barely slept. The next morning, the photo looked normal again. The girl was smiling, just like before. I laughed at myself. Maybe I was tired. Maybe I needed sleep. Then Friday came. And this time, the photo had changed again. The little girl wasn't standing in front of the building anymore. She was standing closer. Much closer. And for the first time, she wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking directly at me. And that's when I stopped thinking it was my imagination. Because photos aren't supposed to move, and they definitely aren't supposed to watch you. After Friday, I couldn't stop thinking about the photo. I even considered throwing it away. And honestly, I should have. Instead, I did something stupid. I took a picture of the picture, just to prove to myself that I wasn't losing my mind. The girl stood near the front gate, looking directly at me. I saved the image on my photo, then went to bed. At 3:17 in the morning, I woke up. Not because of noise, not because of a nightmare, because I felt watched. I opened my eyes. The room was dark, silent, empty. Then I looked at the shelf. The photo was gone. I jumped out of bed, turned on the lights. Nothing. Then I saw it. The photo wasn't on the shelf anymore. It was on my bedroom floor, right beside my bed. I hadn't touched it. I know it. My hands were shaking. I picked up the frame and almost dropped it. The girl was even closer now, standing only a few feet away. And she wasn't smiling. Not at all. Then I remembered the photo on my phone. I opened it and my stomach dropped. Because the picture on my phone had changed too. The girl was gone. Only the building remained, like she had left the photo. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. The next morning, I went to the building manager. I showed him the photo. The moment he saw it, his face turned pale. Then he quietly asked, "Where did you find this?" I told him it was already in my apartment. The manager stared at the girl and then whispered, "She disappeared in the building 22 years ago." And that's when I realized this wasn't a ghost story anymore. It was a warning. I couldn't stop thinking about the manager told me. A little girl, missing for 22 years. Nobody, no answer, just a mystery. That evening, I asked him one more question. Which apartment did she disappear from? The manager hesitated, then answered. Apartment 407? My apartment. For several seconds, I couldn't breathe. That night, I didn't leave. I locked every door, checked every window. Then I sat down and waited. Midnight came, then 1 o'clock, then 2 o'clock. Nothing happened. At exactly 3:17 a.m., a loud crack echoed through the apartment. I jumped to my feet. The photo had fallen. The glass was shattered. And behind the photo, there was something hidden. A piece of paper, old, yellow, with only 3 words written on it. Behind the wall. I stared at the note, then at the living room wall. There was one section that looked different. Never paint, different texture. I grabbed a hammer and started breaking through. 10 minutes later, I found a hidden space. A small room. And inside, human remains. The missing girl, after 22 years. She was finally found. The police arrived. The building became a crime scene. Everyone said the case was solved. And maybe it was. 3 weeks later, I packed my things. I was moving out. Before leaving, I looked around the apartment one last time. Everything was empty. Except for one thing. A photo. Sitting on the shelf. The same photo. The girl was smiling again. But she wasn't alone anymore. Standing beside her, a man. Tall. Shadowy. His face wasn't visible. But one thing was clear. He wasn't there before. And underneath, and underneath the photo, someone had written a message. Thank you for finding me. But the message wasn't finished. There was one more line. Not now find him. And that's when I realized the story wasn't over. It was only beginning. The end of this story. Ooh, what do you think, guys, about this story? I am, for me, very interested in your opinion of this story, so please write in the comments. And now we move to the next story. The second story. The letter from my wife. Intrigue. The day my wife disappeared, she left me a letter. At first, I thought it was a goodbye letter. I was wrong. My wife, Sophie, and I had been married for 4 years. We weren't rich, we weren't perfect, but we loved each other. Or, at least, I believed we did. One Monday morning, I woke up alone. Sophie's side of the bed was empty. At first, I wasn't worried. Then, I noticed something strange. Her phone was still on the nightstand. Her purse was still there. Her car was in the driveway. But Sophie was gone. Then I found the envelope. My name was written on it. Just one word. Michael. Nothing else. My hands started shaking. I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. The letter began. If you're reading this, I didn't leave because I stopped loving you. My heart nearly stopped. I kept reading. I left because I finally learned the truth. I stared at the page. What truth? What was she talking about? Then I read the next sentence, and everything changed. By the time you finish this letter, you will know exactly what you've done. And that's when I realized my wife wasn't running from someone. She was running from me. My hands were trembling. I read the sentence again and again. You're running from me. It made no sense. I loved Sophie. I had never hurt her, at least. That's what I believed. I continued reading. The next paragraph began. Do you remember the first time we met? Of course I remembered. Coffee shop, rainy afternoon. She spilled coffee on my shirt. Then she wrote, that wasn't an accident. I frowned. What? Then I kept reading. I knew who you were before we met. My stomach tightened. The letter continued. I spent months watching you, learning your habits, learning your routine. I stopped reading. Something felt wrong, very wrong. Then I noticed another envelope inside, smaller, hidden between the pages. Inside was a photo, an old photo. I nearly dropped it, because I recognized the people in it. One of them was Sophie, much younger. The other person made my blood run cold. It was a woman named Claire, a woman I hadn't thought about in years. Then I saw the date. The photo had been taken 8 years ago, 2 years before I met Sophie. My heart started racing, because Claire wasn't just someone from my past. Claire disappeared without a trace. 7 years ago, nobody ever found her. Then I looked back at the letter and to read the next sentence. Now you understand why I married you. And suddenly, I wasn't sure who had been lying at all these years, me or Sophie. I couldn't breathe. I stared at the photo. Sophie and Claire. Together, smiling, friends. The letter slipped from my hand. Then I picked it up again and continued reading. Claire was my sister. My heart stopped. For years, everyone believed Claire simply disappeared. But Sophie never believed it. The letter continued. I spent years searching for answers. I talked to everyone who knew her. I read every police report. And eventually, I found you. My hands shook because Claire and I had dated. Briefly, years ago, then she vanished, and I never saw her again. The letter continued. At first, I thought you killed her. I married you to find proof. I closed my eyes. 6 years. 6 years together. And all this time, she had been investigating me. Then, I reached the final page. The page that changed everything. I was wrong. I frowned. Then I kept reading. You didn't kill Claire. I know that now. I stared at the page. Then who did? The answer came immediately. The next sentence. The person responsible was my father. I froze. Sophie's father? The man I had met dozens of times? The man who smiled at our wedding? The man who called me son? The letter continued. Claire discovered something. Something he couldn't allow anyone to know. So he made her disappear. I could barely read now. Tears filled my eyes. Then I reached the final lines. Soon the police will know everything. I finally found the proof, and by the time you read this, I will be gone. Not because I'm running, because I have to testify. And if my father finds me first, I may never come home. 3 months later, Sophie's father was arrested, and Sophie came home. We stood in the doorway, looking at each other. Neither of us knew what to say, because our marriage began with a lie, and somehow it survived the truth. And sometimes that's the rarest ending of all. The end. Whew. Interesting. Very, very interesting. What do you think about this story? Write in the comments. The third story. The woman in the photo. Detective. The woman in the photo had been dead for 20 years, and somehow she was standing at a murder scene. My name is Detective Ryan Forster, and this case nearly destroyed my career. It started on a cold November morning. A wealthy businessman named Victor Lang was found dead inside his mansion. Locked room, no signs of forced entry, no witnesses, no murder weapon, just a dead man and one photograph lying beside the body. At first, the photo seemed ordinary. Black and white, old, faded. It showed a woman standing beside the lake. Beautiful, elegant, smiling. Then one of the older officers looked at it. and went pale. I noticed it immediately. "You know her?" I asked. The officer swallowed hard. "I'm sorry." Then nodded. Everyone in the town knew her. Her name was Eleanor Graves. She died 20 years ago. I looked back at the photo, then at the body, then back at the photo, because suddenly this murder made no sense at all. The afternoon, I visited the town archives and found Eleanor's file. The more I read, the stranger it became. Eleanor wasn't just some woman. 20 years ago, she was engaged to Victor Lang. The same Victor Lang, who was now lying dead in his mansion. And that's when I realized the answer to Victor's murder had been buried for 20 years. The deeper I dug into Eleanor Graves' death, the less I believed it was an accident. According to the official report, she drowned one summer evening at the lake, the same lake from photo. Case closed. But something bothered me a lot, because witnesses claimed Eleanor was terrified before her death. She told several friends. Then someone was following her, someone she trusted. Then I found something strange, a missing page, inside the original police file. Every document was there. Expect 1. Page 17. Gun. Removed deliberately. That same night, I visited the retired detective who worked the case 20 years ago. His name was Arthur Kane. At first, he refused to talk. Then I showed him the photo. Everything changed. His face turned white. Then he quietly said, "Victor paid someone." I stared at him. "What do you mean?" Arthur looked toward the window, then answered. "The case was never supposed to be closed. There was evidence. A lot of evidence. Then suddenly everything disappeared. Files. Witness statements. Letters. Everything." Then Arthur opened a drawer and handed me an envelope, yellow with age, sealed. "What's it?" Arthur looked at me, then said, "The reader Victor Lang spent 20 years looking over his shoulder." I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, written by Eleanor, 3 days before she died. The first sentence made my blood run cold. It said, "If anything happens to me, Victor did it." And suddenly, Victor Lang stopped looking like a victim. He looked like a murderer who somehow survived 20 years, before someone finally came back for him. I read Eleanor's letters 3 times. The handwriting was authentic. The date matched. The paper was old. There was no doubt. 20 years ago, Eleanor believed Victor wanted her dead. But that still didn't answer the biggest question. Who killed Victor? And who left the photo? The answer came from a security camera, not from Victor's mansion, from a gas station, 2 miles away. The footage showed a woman mid-30s. Yeah, mid-30s. Dark hair, nervous. She bought gasoline, then drove toward Victor's estate 3 hours before the murder. We identified her the next day. Her name was Anna Graves, Eleanor's daughter. The room fell silent because, according to official records, Eleanor never had children, but she did. She was pregnant when she died. The pregnancy was hidden, just like everything else. Anna was raised by relatives, and spent her entire life learning one thing: what happened to her mother. For 20 years, she searched. For 20 years, she collected evidence. For 20 years, she waited. We found her 2 days later. She didn't run. She didn't resist. She simply looked at me and asked, "Did you read my mother's letter?" I nodded. Then she smiled sadly. "Then you already know. Victor killed her." I looked at Anna. "And so you killed Victor?" Anna shook her head. "No." I frowned. "What do you mean?" Then Anna handed me a document, a medical report. Victor had terminal heart disease. Months to live, maybe weeks, and looked me in the eyes. Then said, "I didn't kill him. I showed him the evidence, the letter, the witness, the truth, and his heart gave out. The autopsy confirmed it. Victor wasn't murdered. He died from shock." The photo beside the body was Anna's final message, a reminder. Then that Eleanor never disappeared. She haunted him every day for 20 years. And in the end, the truth did what prison never caught. It caught him. The end of the story. Please, my guys, write in the comment what do you think about this story. So, thank you, my dear listeners, for spending this time with me. If you like the story, please like, subscribe, and I'm waiting for you tomorrow, because tomorrow you hear a new interesting stories. Thank you and have a good day. See you again soon, my dear listeners. Thank you, my dear listeners. Thank you, my dear listeners, for spending this time with me. If you like these stories, please like, subscribe, write in the comments what do you think about this story, and I'm waiting for you tomorrow, because tomorrow I have new interesting stories for you. So, see you again soon, my dear listeners.